Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC Fight Night 49, Henderson versus Dos Anjos, which happens Saturday, August 23rd. Overall, I like this card. Prelims pretty good. I like the Garcia versus Magny fight. Return of Killer B, Ben Saunders. I think even Beneil Dariush versus Donnie Martin could be something of a sleeper. Could be a good fight. Niinimaki Skelly isn't too bad. Could be a good grappling battle, actually. I always like James Vick, and he's fighting Valmir Lazaro, who has good stand-up skills. Always, I'm a fan of Max Holloway. Pyle versus Joby, solid enough fight as well. So yeah, I actually like this card. Let's just get right to it. Okay, the main event, we have Rafael Dos Anjos versus Benson Smooth Henderson. This is interesting, 5 rounds. So we know that Benson Henderson can go to full 5 and has done it many times. But Rafael Dos Anjos, 21-7 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. He's 29 years old. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's really improved his takedown defense to a point now it's a strong takedown defense. The one exception, of course, is when he went up against Khabib Nurmagomedov and got taken down at will. But it looks like with Khabib, he might be the type that could take down, and he might be able to take down just about any lightweight. His offensive wrestling's really improving, and his stand-ups improving as well as Muay Thai. He has good leg kicks. He punches well, but he punches with power now. He's knocked some guys out. Knocked out Jason Hine in his last fight, and he's pushing forward. He always pushes forward, and he integrates his striking and grappling well. There's actually I remember in the Anjos fight, and then I'd see it on a lot of later fights. You'll see him striking while going forward, and once he has a guy up against a cage, the guy will counter and he'll duck under and go for a takedown. It's really he's gotten really good at that too. So I like the way he's integrating striking and grappling these days. He's going to fight Benson Henderson, who has a 21-3 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 9 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's 30 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Most recently getting his first finish in the UFC against Rustam Khabilov. Trains out of MMA Lab under James Crouch. The guys that train out of the lab would be, or MMA Lab, excuse me, would be Alex Caceres. There's a lot too, and for some reason a lot of names are escaping me, except for Alex Caceres and Yeltsin Meza, but there's a lot of guys out of the MMA Lab these days. I think Story's now training at MMA Lab. Rick Story. Good camp. That's what I should just say. He has a really strong clinch. He's a guy that once he gets a clinch, pins you against the cage, and he's really good at keeping his opponent back against the cage and the clinch. Of course, Benson's a former UFC lightweight champion. He has really strong cardio. He goes 5 rounds really well. The biggest weapon in his stand-up would be his leg kicks. He has shown to have some pretty strong leg kicks these days. His boxing, his hands are average. Sometimes he throws this triple jab that looks kind of ugly to me because it looks like all arm punch. And in a sense, he's hittable a lot of times by punches too. He's a good wrestler, a really strong scrambler. If you take Benson Henderson down, he's the type to get back to his feet. If you take his back, he'll try and reverse to get on top, and has overall strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Another thing that he's really strong at is ground and pound. It's really good ground and pound. So yeah, good fight here. I'm gonna go with I think the more obvious pick would be Benson Henderson. However, there's a lot of strengths about Benson Henderson that I can see Rafael Dos Anjos neutralizing. You know, it's like on the ground. I think he might be able to match him on the ground. I think Benson might have a hard time taking Dos Anjos down. And the stand-up, you know, I'm kind of favoring Dos Anjos over Benson Henderson, to be honest with you. So that makes it pretty tough to say who's going to win. I can see Benson possibly outlasting Rafael Dos Anjos. I can see him getting Dos Anjos against the cage a lot. So this is actually a really tough one to pick. Like I'm a little tempted to go with Dos Anjos, to be honest with you. Like I said, I like the way he integrates his striking with his grappling. There's other stuff with Benson Henderson too. Judges love Benson Henderson's offense. He might be able to get a good kicking game on Dos Anjos. Like I said, Dos Anjos' light kicks aren't that bad though. But I think Benson Henderson might have the superior kicking game. I think Benson's probably the superior scrambler, I'd say. As far as like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu goes, I'd say they're kind of the same. Saunders might actually be a little more refined, to be honest with you. So, really tough one to call. I'll go Benson Henderson. It's kind of the safer pick in a sense. He's a former UFC lightweight champion. He's fought, and whether you agree with the decisions or not, he has beaten stronger level of competition than Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos' strongest winners like Cowboy Cerrone. Benson has beaten 5 rounds with Cerrone. Got a contentious split decision. Is it split or unanimous? Got a contentious decision the first time they fought, but guillotined them. I'm talking about Cerrone on the second fight. So yeah, there's a couple X factors with Benson Henderson that make me lean towards him. So, especially if this fight goes to judges, I mean, like I said, they like Benson Henderson's offense. They like the way. I think they also like the way that when he gets hit, he makes his opponent's offense not look as bad as it could look. It's like, oh, this guy's got my back. That's what he did against Josh Thompson. You know what I mean? It's just like he has a way of making his opponent not seem as threatening as even though he might be. Josh Thompson gets his back and the guy fixes his hair. Benson also, he gets hit and he doesn't really act like, he gets hit. He's really good at that, and I think that really influenced the judges as well. So I'll go with Benson Henderson for the win there. Next fight is that Francis Carmont fights Thales Leites. Interesting fight in the sense that you got a guy off a 2-fight losing streak fighting a guy that's coming off a 6-fight win streak, and I want to say it's a 3 or 4-fight win streak in the UFC. Francis Carmont, 22-9 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. That's his 3 losses by submission. 32 years old on a 2-fight losing streak, training out of TriStar. He is big for 185, but he's something of a grinder. He tries to use his size and take guys down and kind of control them from top control. He's actually got a really bad reputation for that. He most recently lost to CB Holloway. I knew that CB would be able to out-wrestle him, and that's what happened. And he actually dropped him too, so, but yeah, Carmont's something of a grinder, He does have some solid kickboxing, some good knees. It's mainly his, kicks and knees that are good. His hands are just kind of eh. But he doesn't use them very much, and he doesn't have very high output. Thales Leites, 23-4 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 13 wins by sub. He's 33 years old on a 6-fight win streak, training out of Nova União, and he's a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Strong off his back, really good back control. He's a guy that'll take a guy down and look to take the back. Striking's really improving. He knocked out Trevor Smith in his last fight. He's actually got a really good chin. He's just not, he's a guy that I think he has a surprising power. I remember when he fought Marquardt, he dropped him. But his chin's pretty good. He's a guy that I don't see get dropped a lot. And I don't, maybe like once, or I don't think any more than once that he lost by strikes. I don't even know if that's the case. He's got a good clinch. But the thing with Leites also is his cardio's not very good, especially in the third round. It's not very good. This is an interesting style matchup, but I kind of think just from a stylistic standpoint, kind of got to go with Leites. I think he can kind of emulate what Jacare was able to do to Carmont. I think that he might be able to get takedowns on Carmont, and off takedowns, I think he'll be able to take his back. I think if Carmont goes for his own takedowns, he's got to be careful. Leites, like I said, will go for triangles from his back, go for sweeps and reversals and whatnot. So, in the stand-up, I probably favor Carmont. Leites' stand-up has been improving. It's not like, you can kind of call Leites a mixed martial artist instead of just, because for the longest time he was just like a jiu-jitsu guy. I think his striking's good enough now, you know what I mean, where it's just like, it's not a liability anymore. So yeah, I think I gotta go Thales Leites though. I think especially in the grappling, Leites should be superior in that regard. Okay, next right after that, Mike Pyle fights Jordan Mein. Very good matchup because you got the young guy versus the veteran. But the funny thing with the young guy is that he has more fights than the veteran. Yeah, Jordan Mein, 28-9 record, 15 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 4 losses by submission. He's 24 years old. Geez, I put height. His boxing, his strength is boxing. He has good footwork. He creates angles really well and strikes in combination. His grappling is improving. I think there's actually a really interesting stat there, though. Even though like his grappling's not bad, but dude, this guy gets caught in like some pretty deep submission attempts. Dan Miller, I think, managed to armbar him and get the arm at least straight, but Mein got out of it. His last fight against Perpetual, I think he got a pretty deep leg lock. I want to say Matt Brown got some sort of submission attempt on him. So that's the thing with Jordan Mein that's kind of troubling, that he gets, he gets out of them, but just the fact that, hey, let's get caught in a triangle isn't a good thing, just because you get out of it, and he does have some losses by submission too, so, it's not the best thing, especially against Mike Pyle. He has a 26-9 record with 1 draw. 6 wins by KO or TKO, 16 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO or TKO and 4 losses by sub. 30 years old, training out of Syndicate. I know like Roxanne Modafferi's training out of Syndicate. Vinny Magalesh. There's actually a lot of guys training out of Syndicate these days. It's in Vegas. He's a veteran. Mike Pyle's a veteran. He's very experienced. He's got some strong and crafty Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's a good wrestler. I like his trip takedowns. He won with superior grappling against like John Hathaway when he was coming up, for example. Stand-up is improving. I remember there's that streak of wins where he knocked out like 3 of his opponents in a row. Yeah. He's got some good ground and pound as well. His chin, though, isn't very good. Rick Story managed to drop him. Matt Brown TKO'd him. Even in some other fights, I think James Head managed to wobble him. And against a guy like Jordan Mein, who's a good boxer with good footwork, that's definitely a liability. And kind of why I'm leaning a little towards Jordan Mein here. I think that he's going to be able to touch his chin. And I think he might be able to drop him or wobble him. Again, depends. If Pyle plays more of a grappling game, and like I said, Jordan Mein, the type of guy who gets caught in some pretty deep submissions, could be pretty dangerous, especially if it's primarily a grappling battle. Otherwise, I think I'll go with Jordan Mein to win this one. I think that, I think he'll be able to avoid a good amount of the ground and should, be able to outbox Mike Pyle. Okay, next fight, that Clay Collard fights Max Holloway. Well, Collard has a 13-4 record with 1 no contest, 8 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's only 21 years old on a 3-fight win streak. I think he has a win over Justin Buckles from Team Alpha Male in that win streak. Trains out of Pit Elevated with the likes of like Steven Seiler, Court McGee, Ramsey Nejem. It is his first fight in the UFC, and he's taking this fight on short notice. It's supposed to be Mirsad Bektek was supposed to fight Max Holloway. So that's definitely got to play, those two things got to play a role. He does have a good clinch game. His dirty boxing is good, and he actually has some good knees as well. Max Holloway, 9-3 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 22 years old on a 2-fight win streak. He's got some strong technical kickboxing. He's really for a guy that's still relatively new in MMA at this point. Actually, he's fought in the UFC for a while. I don't even know. He's pretty much like a veteran. But, he's still really young and improving. But he's always shown some really good composure. He uses body punches really well. Knocked out, I forgot the opponent he knocked out with body strikes. So that was pretty nice. He has some solid takedown defense. And his last fight against Andre Touchy-Feely, I believe, he showed improved grappling and even getting this guillotine choke on a Team Alpha Male guy, So, guy's really well known for the guillotine chokes. Collard's a good prospect, but Holloway just has a lot more experience against really good fighters. Even in losing, he's a guy that's always in the fight too. He lost to Dennis Bermudez in a fight I thought that he should have won. Lost to Conor McGregor. Kind of got dominated, but like I said, he was always in the fight. That was the thing with him. And then when he fought Dustin Poirier on really short notice himself, he was winning the stand-up. Once the fight hit the ground, though, he's a white belt. I don't know about now, but and he got triangle armbarred from the mount. I don't, but these days though. He has good solid stand-up and good takedown defense and improving grappling. Gotta go with Max Holloway to win that one. Okay, next fight out that, James Vick fights Valmir Lazaro. Well, Lazaro has a 12-2 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by decision. He's 28 years old. He's 6 foot, because I point that out because James Vick is 6'3". He's really tall for the weight class. Badu has an 11-fight win streak, training out of Nova União, and it's his first fight in the UFC. Stand-up is solid. He will use body punches. When I watched some videos of him, though, he seemed very susceptible to leg kicks. James Vick, 5-0 undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's only 27 years old. Like I said, he's 6'3". Most recently coming off a guillotine win over Ramsey Nejem, actually. And this guy got that upset knee victory on Darren Cruikshank. Cruikshank was kind of beating him up with the kicks and whatnot. Shoots for a takedown, gets kneed and knocked out. James Vick is actually a pretty good prospect. That's why this one's kind of hard for me to call, because solid striker, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, you know? And he's really tall, so it's really tough to say how this fight goes. I'm going to go in with Lazaro, though. It is his first fight in the UFC, so that works against him, and he's a shorter fighter. Training out of Nova União really helps. It should help with striking. And if the fight stays standing, I'm kind of leaning a little more towards Lazaro. If he uses body punches on a tall guy like James Vick, I think that'll be pretty effective. So, yeah, I'll go with Valmir Lazaro to win that one. Okay, and the final fight of the main card, we have Niinimaki versus Skelly. Skelly has an 11-1 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. He's 29 years old, training out of Team Takedown with like the Rochals and Johnny Hendricks. He's a strong wrestler with good top control. Stand-up's average, you know. His footwork's kind of awkward, so he's not a natural striker. Like I said, he has kind of awkward footwork. Niinimaki, 21-6 record with 1 draw, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by submission. He's 31 years old. He's got some solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. I really like this fight against forgot his name now. Oh man, I totally forgot the guy's name. He had this really good fight with him, dude. Jeez, name escapes me. He lost most recently to Nicholas Backstrom, though, by a bulldog choke, actually. That was really slick of Backstrom. But he does, you know, Niinimaki has good stand-up. And his wrestling's not too bad either. Skelly most recently lost to Mirsad Bektik. This one's kind of tough for me to call, but the thing is, you know, Niinimaki is a pretty tricky grappler. You know, even if Skelly gets him to the ground, Niinimaki can work from the bottom, work the half guard really well from the bottom. Stand up solid enough. I'm kind of leaning towards Niinimaki to win this one. Yeah, I'll go with him to win this one. I think if the fight does hit the ground, that Niinimaki's jiu-jitsu skills are going to win out there. And I think his stand-up solid enough to match Skelly there as well. Okay, on the prelim card, we have Alex Garcia versus Neil Magny. Neil Magny has been something of a surprise to me. When he came out of that one season Ultimate Fighter, I mean, that was like one of the, if not the worst season like ever. Like Colton Smith ended up winning it. He beat Mike Ritchie, and Magny was just some guy from that season that I really didn't think would be staying in the UFC, and now he's on like a really like a 3-fight win streak. A lot of people think before that he lost Seth Baczynski, but a lot of people thought that Magny should have got the nod there. Well, Magny has an 11-3 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission, 26 years old, and he's 6'3". The Dominican Nightmare Alex Garcia is 5'9". That's I think that's pretty important. Magny's on a 3-fight win streak, training out of Grudge. His stand-up's good, but mainly what's good about his stand-up is his use of range and his relatively high output. He'll use a lot of straight punches. He's got a good jab going on and keeps guys at the end of his punches. He knocked out, and he had a tough first round. He fought Monstro. For some reason, I remember the guy's nickname, but not his full name. But his nickname's Monstro. And in his last fight, and he went to the ground with them on top, was in half guard and in an off balance position, got swept, mounted, and beat up pretty bad. And in the second round, he beat up Monstro pretty bad and knocked him out. So, and Magny's not the worst grappler or anything. He lost to Sergio Moraes, but it's like, you know, he's like really top of the line. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black, like these like super Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, you know, do give Magny trouble on the ground. That's the thing. Alex Garcia, 12-1 record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 27 years old. Like I said, he's 5'9", on a 6-fight win streak, training out of TriStar. He has some good stand-up, and some heavy hands. Decent wrestler as well. His cardio, though, is not very good. Most recently, Alex Garcia fought Sean Spencer in a pretty back-and-forth fight. They both got good hits on each other. I think Alex Garcia, the thing is, he has a lot more hype. You know, he's a pretty hyped prospect. A lot of people were looking at this guy and they were just like, wow, this guy's really good. He knocked out Beneil. Beneil's not that great, to be honest with you. But then against Sean Spencer, I mean, he got the win. But he didn't look that great, and I think Magny can do what Sean Spencer did, except better, especially since he's taller, and keep Alex Garcia at the end of his punches. If Garcia mixes some wrestling, it could be a different story. Garcia also has those heavy hands, but he's also the much shorter fighter as well. With that said, I'm going with Magny to win this one. I think in the stand-up, like I said, I think he's going to keep Garcia at the end of his punches. I think, that'll force Garcia to shoot from far away if he does want to wrestle. And might make it hard to get takedowns on Magny. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Magny to win this one. And Magny, man, that guy's been fighting a lot lately. Okay, next fight after that, Chris Heatherly fights Ben Saunders. Killer B is back. He has a 16-6 record with 2 draws, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. 2 of them were from Douglas Lima. And they were vicious knockouts too. One was a right hand, and the other one was a head kick knockout. So, he's 31 years old. Pretty tall for the weight class. He's 6'3". Chris Heatherly is 5'8". With Saunders, he trains out of ATT Orlando. His strongest weapon, his knees, especially from the tie clinch. This guy's knees are devastating. You just don't want to be there. Stand-up is solid, pretty good kicks. He's got a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills too. He's got off his back. He's a type of guy. He'll go for rubber guard when he's on his back. He'll go for triangle chokes and whatnot. One of his problems, though, and I remember this in the Brian Baker fight especially, is that he can be a little too content off his back. He doesn't always seem to have the urge to get back to his feet when he's taken down. Chris Heatherly, 8-1 record with 1 no contest, 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 5'8" to Saunders is 6'3". It's his first fight in the UFC. He has some good wrestling. I think that's his bread and butter, actually. And some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. Stand-up's average. Stand-up defense isn't very good. I don't know if he's a good fighter. I just think Saunders at this point is a better fighter. I think he beats him up in the stand-up. He's definitely going to have to watch out for Saunders' offense. If Heatherly takes the fight to the ground, he's really got to watch out for Saunders' offense from his back. So yeah, I got to go with Ben Saunders to win that one. Next fight, Beneil Dariush fights Tony Martin. Well, Tony Martin has an 8-1 record, 6 wins by submission, 2 wins by decision, training out of ATT, and who did he fight in his last fight? I want to say it's a Magomedov or a Medov or something like that. I think it's a Russian fighter or like Eastern European fighter. I remember that he had good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. I wasn't too impressed with his stand-up, but I remember his ground game was solid. With Beneil Dariush, he has a 7-1 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 25 years old, training out of King's MMA under Rafael Cordeiro. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, but his stand-up is improving. I mean, he did get beat up by Ramsey Nijam in his last fight, but you know, Beneil Dariush is a solid prospect. Like I said, really good ground game with improving stand-up. I'll go Beneil Dariush to win this one. And a final fight on the prelim, on Fox Sports 2 prelims, is Matt Hobar versus Aaron the Model Phillips. Now I remember Aaron Phillips, he fought Sam Cecilia. He has a 5-1 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by decision. He's 24 years old. I remember that he had some pretty decent stand-up. In particular, he had good kicks. Matt Hobar, he lost to really good Brazilian fighter, whose name escapes me at the moment. But Hobar has an 8-2 record, 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO. He's a good wrestler. I think his bread and butter really is the ground. It's really hard for me to say he's going to win this one. I'm kind of going with the wrestler here. I'll go with Matt Hobar to win that one. And the one Fight Pass prelim, we have Joby Sanchez versus Wilson Hayes. Get Wilson Hayes 17-5 record, 8 wins by sub, 9 wins by decision. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 29 years old. It'll be his first cut to 125 pounds, but he is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Stand-up's average. He's actually shown some semblance of power, though, in his stand-up. And his takedowns are actually pretty good. Had a really nice fight against Yuri Alcantara, actually. And then he beat Ivan Menjivar before that, using his takedowns and top control. Joby Sanchez, 6-0 undefeated record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 23 years old, training out of Jackson Winklejohn. Of his first fight in the UFC, and he's taking the fight on short notice. Tim Elliott was supposed to fight Hayes, but now it's Joby Sanchez. Sanchez is a finisher. Has some solid kickboxing. Saw his last fight against Antonio Banuelos. You know, got finished him with some right hands, actually. He has some good kicks as well. But, you know, the only X factor here would be, like, Wilson Hayes' first cut to 125. Is that going to drain him? Is he even going to make that weight class? I never thought he was small for 135. So, that's really the big question. Otherwise, I think Hayes has fought that much stronger competition. And done well against said competition. He has good takedown ability, and like I said, a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I gotta go with Wilson Hayes to win that one. Okay, to recap, I have Benson Henderson over Rafael dos Anjos, Thales Leites beating Francis Carmont, Jordan Mean over Mike Pyle, Max Holloway beating Clay Collard, Valmir Lazaro over James Vick, and Tom Niinimaki over Chas Skelly. On the Fox Sports 2 prelims, I have Neil Magny over Alex Garcia, Ben Saunders beating Chris Heatherly, Beneil Dariush over Tony Martin, and Matt Hobar over Aaron Phillips. And on the Fight Pass prelims, I have Wilson Hayes over Joby Sanchez. So that's it for my predictions for UFC Fight Night 49, Henderson versus Dos Anjos. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for You. Thank you guys very much.